Hey guys, Justin here. I wanted to take a quick second and let you know about Growth Now Movement Live, coming to Reading, Pennsylvania, May 30th to June 1st. This event is going to feature some of my top guests like Fabio Viviani from America's Top Chef, best-selling author and future board expert Sarah Centrella, Albie Manzo from Real Housewives of New Jersey, and many, many more. This is going to be a game-changing event. It is truly going to be a day-long rock concert for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people who are ready to take their life to the next level. So if that's you, head over to gnmlive.com and grab your tickets today because prices are going up soon. Again, go to gnmlive.com now to level up your life and truly create the life of your dreams. Can't wait to see you there. What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now Movement. This week, I sit down with Johnny Wimbrey. Johnny trains and encourages thousands through coaching, seminars, and speaking engagements. His inspirational story of overcoming life's adversities has empowered others to follow on the journey to wealth. Author of From the Hood to Doing Good, Wimbrey is marked with life memories of living in a battered women's shelter to growing up on the streets as a young drug dealer. After several near-death experiences and the loss of a good friend, Wimbrey decided it was time to turn his life around and not let his past determine his future. Guys, you are absolutely going to love this episode. Johnny is inspiring and fun, and we dive deep on so many different topics that you're able to instill in your life to not allow your past to dictate your future. And if that sounds familiar, that's because what I talk about. You know, when Johnny and I finally connected, you know, both of us were like, wow, our journeys, although so different, have a similar story to tell others. And, you know, I think that we really kind of hit a groove, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this conversation between us. Now, with all of that being said, there's literally 10 tickets left for Growth Now Movement Live. I want you guys to go to gnmlive.com and come join me, Fabio Viviani, Albie Manzo, Sarah Centrella, and so many others to help take your life to the next level. Again, that's gnmlive.com. Go grab one of the last 10 tickets. Let's sell this out. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the episode with Johnny Wimbrey. Johnny, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, my man, Justin? It's definitely an honor and a pleasure to be here, brother.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. You know, we had some technical difficulties yesterday.
We did.
We're sitting back down and we're getting this thing taken care of. You know, I had mentioned yesterday when I first hit record that I'm one of those people that I'm really picky with the guests that I have on the show, and people from Interview Valet will definitely tell you that, where they pitch me people and I don't always say yes, and even though they're a phenomenal company. But, you know, with that being said, I read your bio and I read your backstory and I did some research and I was like, this guy is the whole deal for my show, man. Overcoming adversity, creating something from nothing, like doing all those amazing things that you've done in your life. And here you are, man. You've been featured on, you know, the Steve Harvey show, and you name it, and you've been there, man. Travel and speak all over the world. But why don't we just take a couple minutes and you share who you are today, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Absolutely, man. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for having me. And likewise, fun fact, you are the very first podcast that we have accepted through the same company you just named. And, you know, we're pretty picky on our side, and we try not to be because, you know, I kind of want to have that year where I just say yes to everything. It's just not possible. But yeah, when we looked you up, you looked us up, and hopefully we'll make this magic. So this is Johnny Wimbrey, man. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, born and raised in Fort Worth. Now I have a multi-million-dollar company here in Southlake where we do seminars and help people become authors. We really help people create that brand, that interest, that authority, and throw them into the marketplace as a speaker, as a presenter, as a published author. That's something that I'm super, super excited about. I have a distribution database of salespeople in over 40 countries around the world.
Wow.
We probably do about over $100 million a month just in revenue. And, in my mind, Justin, I am literally just getting started. I'm like a kid in a candy store because I'm seeing so many individuals that I have mentored for the last 3 to 5 years become first-generation millionaires. And that's what I'm focused on right now. I'm helping people become first-generation millionaires.
Dude, I love that theory because, when you think about your story, and we're going to get into that, it's not just creating first-generation millionaire, it's breaking a cycle. It's
Dude,
a stigma of like, what did we learn when we were kids? And then how do I get out of that? And that's something that obviously relates to my story a whole lot because of how I was raised. And people are like, man, you should not be doing what you're doing. But here I am, right? I broke the cycle. But why don't we talk about that a little bit, man? Like you grew up in a very precocious type of way, and you broke that stigma. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny because, my first book, From the Hood to Doing Good, which is my best-selling book, I've sold more copies of that book than anything I've ever done. And what's crazy is when I wrote that book, I spoke to Les Brown, who's a mentor of mine, and I said, Les, man, I really want to get this book out to prevent people from going through a lot of the, things that I did, all the bullshit, a lot of negative things that I participated in my life. And, I got a brother serving 40 years in prison right now. And the only difference between me and him is I didn't get caught. I had a felony arrest as a teenager, made a lot of bad decisions. My first memory of life living in a battered women's shelter as a child, we had to move to San Jose, California for protection. Ended up coming back to Fort Worth, Texas. My mom said she'd be there in 2 weeks. I wouldn't see her for 3 years. So the same guy who was the reason of us being in this battered women's shelter, I was forced to go back to meet for the first time when I was in second grade. I failed the second grade. So I went back again, completed the second grade under my father's leadership. And the crazy thing is with my father, as crazy as he was as a husband, he actually was a good father. And that's a note to the listeners right now. Bad husband doesn't mean bad father. My dad was a very hard person. If you want to get a visual of my father, visualize Samuel L. Jackson right now in the movie Pulp Fiction. I mean, no joke. That is my dad. I've seen my dad have conversations with individuals holding a gun in his hand, and that was just normal. It just was normal. It was terrifying. I would really trip out because all of my homies were from the hood and they were all afraid of my dad. My homeboys who are in prison right now, still to this day, will say, how's Mr. Wimbrey doing? They're in prison. They don't say, how's my dad? They say, how's Mr. Wimbrey doing? So with all that being said, Justin, I'm the essence of God's grace and mercy. I'm not better than anybody who's listening to me right now. I'm not better than anybody who's locked up in prison. I just didn't get caught. And, there was a life-changing situation that happened to me that I pray that most people don't have to go through what I went through to make that change in life. But I do thank God that it happened to me at such an early age in life. I was a junior in high school, and my homeboy Mookie was murdered. And I talk about this in my book, From the Hood to Doing Good. My homeboy was murdered. Long story short, the night of the wake, we all planned on revenge. And this was the night before the funeral where it's personal, it's family, it's friends. And it was kind of a setup, to be honest with you. And they had, ministers and counselors waiting for us. And the mother of my homeboy stood in front of his casket. And here's my moment. If you're listening to me right now, every and any success that has ever happened in life came from a moment. And the bottom line is, if we can stay in a sniper type mentality, that we're in position as a sniper, looking through that scope, looking for that moment, that's when increase happens. That's when breakthrough happens. And I don't know why I was listening, but she said, I forgive the young man who killed my son. You got to imagine, Justin, I got a gun. I'm going to retaliate that night. All my homeboys were with me. But when she said that, I had the most mature moment of my life as a teenager. And the moment was, I don't love him like she loves him. And if she had found forgiveness, going to get revenge would be disrespectful to the mother, because she said, I forgive. And that was a major moment for me. So, I gave my gun to a preacher that night. I literally, the next day of the funeral, we went to a counseling session after the funeral, and there was a young lady there by the name of Crystal. Young girl, didn't know who she was, very beautiful. And that was 1993. Today, we have been married for 20 years.
Wow.
And that was a major moment in my life. So not only did I change my life around in one night, I started the process of changing my life around. Not only did I walk away from a lifestyle, I met the love of my life within 24 hours.
That is incredible.
It's all in the book, man. It's a movie.
It is, man. And in that moment when you heard those words and it resonated with you, your friends that were around you, did that resonate with them as well? Or
That's a really, really good question. You're the very first interviewer, and I've been interviewing around the world on this story, that has asked me that question. And the answer is no. That night, and there's a chapter in my book called the You Factor. And this is in From the Hood to Doing Good. The story, the book is it's not a story on my life. You learn a lot about me in the book, but you really learn the principles that I use to start the process of overcoming the obstacles and adversities that I created in my own life. I didn't create the battered women's shelter. I didn't create the abusive, father. I didn't create that, but there are a lot of things that I did create. There are a lot of things that I did participate in. And the You Factor is, there are people who are listening to my voice right now, but it doesn't mean they're listening. My friends heard what she said. They were sitting right next to me. And I wish I was exaggerating. Without exaggeration, every single one of them ended up going to jail and prison within I would say within 3 years.
Wow.
Many of them are just now starting to get out. I got a homeboy who was with me that night that he's doing life, and I just got a message that he may get out this August. So he's been locked up since 1994.
Wow. Do you still communicate with these individuals sometimes?
Yeah. My homies are my homies, man. That's the thing. I invite them to my house, multi-million-dollar home, multi-million-dollar. And what's crazy is they don't treat me different. It's because I really don't act different.
Yeah.
Still crazy, still talk a lot of smack, can keep up with the best of them. But they respect me and I respect them. And I expose them to different atmospheres. And I have different sectors of friends from different areas of life of me growing up. And, I'm the common denominator that brings them all together, and we've never had issues.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's really cool. And I mean, obviously you hope that your success kind of imparts something in them that might kind of flip a switch or whatever the case may be. But, the big question is, like you had mentioned, you began to turn your life around in that moment.
Yeah.
And it is a moment that's a pivoting part for so many people's lives, but it's the work that you put in after that to truly make the difference. You didn't go from saying, oh yeah, here's my gun to, oh, guess what? My company's doing $100 million a month. Didn't happen. So
man, it was a lot of conviction. It was a lot of personal forgiveness. Going through that guilt factor, that disbelief of, I don't deserve it. Yeah. I should be in prison with my brother. Going through that, you go through all of that. And here's the thing, I wasn't weak in the streets. I wasn't a pushover in the streets. And that's one thing I never lost. I was selling crack cocaine when I was 15 years old. Now, think about this. If you were to break down the ingredients of what it takes to become a first generation millionaire, a first generation success story, anybody will tell you that one of the ingredients will always come up is you got to take risk. You have to be a risk taker. Well, think about it. I'm 15. I'm in the streets. Every night I could die. Every night I could go to jail. Every night I could have got jacked. I could have got beat up. So when I got into the real business world, I didn't lose that ability of not being afraid to take risk. I mastered the art of taking risk. Show me anyone who's ever had an inkling of success on the streets. I can show that individual how to become a serious success story if they understand. I don't want you to lose your fight. I want you to lose your purpose. I don't want you to lose your fight. I want you to lose your direction of purpose in which you're in right now, and just transfer that energy into a different light.
Yeah. Dude, my mom always used to say to me, she's like, if you focused on your schoolwork, like you memorize all these baseball players' stats, you're the best student of all time. It's all about where you're focused.
Yeah. Oh, that's
the drive is there. The determination is there.
Dude,
so what is that purpose? So how do you instill a new purpose or direction into somebody who's lost?
Listen, we got to share the stage together. You and I got to do things together, because some things that you say is like, man, we could piggyback all day on stuff like this. I love the questions that you ask. And, the first thing is, man, you've got to have belief in yourself. People ask me, Johnny, you've had massive successes based on their definition of what success is, on a global scale. What's next for you, and here's what I tell, one of the questions they ask is, if you could do it all over again, what would you do different? The only thing that I would do different is believe sooner. See, if I can get someone to believe that they deserve increase, that's my victim. That's my victim. Why? Because if I can get you to entertain the possibilities that increase still exist for you, not the world, you. We typically create opinions and make it our reality based on what other people are doing, can do, or will do. And all I really want to focus on is you. So if I can get you to believe sooner, believe that you still deserve it. And it's a very small word. It's called increase. If I can get you to entertain the possibilities, I don't care if you're 20 years old, just getting out of prison. I don't care if you're 70 years old and you've never had a real profession. If I can get you to believe that increase is still possible for you, Justin, that's the first step.
That's so huge. I mean, and like you said, it's just a small word. It's a small moment, because, I talk about that a lot. I talk about how, like, so often we worry about the end goal, but what matters now are the steps we take today, because that's all we have control over.
100%.
It's that increase. It's talking about that thing. Now, you had mentioned a guy earlier in this interview named Les Brown.
Yes.
And most people know who Les Brown is. Let's be real. You mentioned the name, especially in our space, and they're like, oh my gosh, the Holy Grail, right?
Yeah.
But he's a guy who you mentioned before I hit record that you've been to Barbados more than any other country.
Fun fact.
Because of him. So how does somebody even start to play on that level and really kind of create that type of relationship with somebody like Les Brown?
Man, listen, you ask really good questions, and I don't do fluff, but the things that you ask, it's almost like the elementary truths. And everybody wants to go for these high level, epiphany type, God's going to shine down from heaven and split the clouds open type questions. And that's not where, that's not where the golden nuggets are. The golden nuggets are in the elementary truths. And what you're asking, man, is the foundation, of all success. And the bottom line is I participated in my own rescue. You can't tell me where you want to go in life and not participate in what you say. Most people will make a declaration. I'm going to lose weight at the beginning of the year. January 1st, 2018 was funny to me. It's 2018. It's 2018. I don't care how many ways you figure out how to rhyme what your declaration is. If you don't participate in your own rescue, then you are a liar. I said I wanted to be a professional speaker. So if Johnny Wimbrey says he wants to be a professional speaker in his early 20s, when nobody really knows who he is other than the people he's doing business with, when people start figuring out this guy's a felony arrest, he doesn't really have, any, collegiate degrees or anything of respect that would demand, an audience to get on stage. These are boogeymen that I put in my head that didn't exist. These are obstacles. And Les said, Johnny, if you continue to argue for your limitations, I'm going to let you keep them. That was his way of saying to me, Johnny, if you continue to give me reasons of why you can't, I'm not going to work with you. So me getting access to Les Brown, it wasn't all good in the very beginning. It was a 2-year process of, nurturing a relationship with him. And, one day he was in Dallas, Texas, and he was speaking, and I was always offer, Les, can I carry your bags? Can I pick you up from the airport? I just want to be around what you're doing. Why? Because I'm participating in my rescue. You've got to participate. He invites me up to his room, and, I'm super excited. I'm like, Les, I'm going to have some one-on-one time with Les Brown. Well, that didn't happen. I opened the door. Well, the door opens in his hotel room, and it's like 20 people in there. If you know Les Brown, that's him. There's like 20 people in there. And I'm like, so much for one-on-one time. But here I am just sitting in the corner, just watching and listening and paying attention to every question he asked. And he observed me. And he called me over and he said, how serious are you about, becoming a professional speaker? I said, as if my life depends on it. So I know that that's my call in life. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm called to empower the masses to experience the greatness that's within them. And he said, I'll put you on stage tonight if you join my platinum speakers program. At that time, it was $10,000. This is a Friday. We're right around lunchtime. And he says he's going to put me on stage that night. Now, this is a guy who spent decades building his brand, decades building his stage. To this day, I've never met anyone who does what Les does or what he did for me. He said, it's 10,000. I was like, man. And he said, but if you can come up with 5,000 and give it to me tonight, I'll put you on stage. Now, if you're listening to me, Les Brown doesn't need my $5,000. He was testing me. He was basically saying, are you going to participate in what you said you want out of life? And Justin, I'll shut up after this because, I mean, I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to hear how you feel about this. This is going to be good. I got in my car, and I started driving to South Dallas, and I called my stepmother. And this is the hardest phone call I've ever made in my life because I don't ask for anything. I'm the baby boy of 3, baby boy of 4. And from 16 until now, my parents I didn't ask them for anything. I paid for my entire lifestyle. And I called her and I said, Joyce, I have the opportunity to get on stage with one of the world's greatest speakers. His name is Les Brown. Tonight could change my life forever, but I need to come up with $5,000. And she said, where are you? And I said, well, I'm driving back towards my home. She said, swing by my job. She worked at the hospital. And she said, I'll give you $2,500. And you got to realize how hard that call was. Like my personality type, just not me, man. I hang up the phone, Justin. This is how you know God just really, really participates when you participate. I hang the phone up, and one of my homeboys, we were talking about my homies, right? My homeboy, Tony Hobbs, calls me on my cell phone. And I pick up the phone. I say, hey, Tony, man. Matter of fact, I accidentally answered it. I picked it up, and I'm like, hey, Tony, let me hit you back, bro. I need to come up with $2,500. I got a chance, long story short, I have a really good chance to be on stage tonight with Les Brown. And this is my homeboy. We did dirt together. Now he's different these days. He owns a construction company at this time. He's doing very good. That's awesome. And he says, hold up, man, you going to be on stage with Les Brown? I'm like, how do you know who he is? He said, Les spoke at my church last week. I said, you got to be kidding me. And I'm not joking, Justin. Tony says, where are you? And I said, I'm driving down Loop 12 and I'm headed to my stepmother's job. He said, meet me at this gas station. And he gave me $2,500. So participating in your rescue, I made one call. The other call came to me.
Wow. That story is incredible. It's so incredible that it seems not real, right?
Oh man. I didn't even know it was a story because I lived it.
Yeah.
I told it one time and it blew everybody away. And I'm like, I need to tell the story.
Dude, that's a whole nother level. I talk about that all the time. Like your story doesn't seem impressive to you because you've lived it.
You lived it.
But you tell somebody else, like, holy shit. You know,
right.
You're like go around. But in that moment when you picked up the phone and you made the call, like I'm a big believer in energy and what you put out comes back.
1,000.
Reciprocation of the universe, right? You had to do the work first. And then the universe is going to take care of the rest. And then fast forward, here you are now. What made you make that phone call? What was it? What did you see in that moment where you're like, I need to do this?
Man, I thought of it as if it would never come up again. I thought of it as if it would, in my mind, it would change my life forever. I had enough faith in my ability. And I knew that if he handed me that microphone, there's not one person in that room that would ever forget my name. And I had that kind of confidence. And it wasn't because of how talented I am as a speaker. It's how open I am at reaching the hearts of people who want increase. And increase is a really big brand word for me. And Les handed me that mic that night. He only put me on stage for 10 minutes. And I had a product table. Now, I knew I was going to be able to sell product and make my money back. I knew that.
Right.
I went back to my table and there was a line. It was the first time I ever seen a line around the corner. And I thought it was for Les's table. And Les comes over to my table and says, what is this? And I outsold him that night. I only spoke for 10 minutes. He spoke for 45 and I outsold him. From that moment on, Les has taken me around the world.
That is absolutely incredible. Now, when you went and did those 10 minutes, were you speaking already or was this something like brand new? Like all you said to yourself was, I've got 10 minutes. Well, I've got to figure this out.
I've always been that guy on stage, building network marketing companies, multi-level marketing teams. And that's where my success came from up to that point. But I was in a drought. Here's what's crazy. 2 years before that, I was this, they call me Johnny.com. This is the year 2000, right? So Johnny.com, I was on TV, interviewed as a young .com success story. This is when eBay was out there. Of course, I was nowhere on that level, but for a local guy in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I had a story. I wasn't from, the Bay Area of California or Silicon Valley. I was local. I was from the hood. I wrote the book From the Hood to Doing Good. It was easy for me to get on the news, with a positive story. So when the money stopped, I still had to portray that image. So even though the money stopped and I had been on stage and I'd been speaking, my window was closing because the company that I was a part of went out of business. And, but I was still wanting that image, to live. And the truth is it was dying. And I knew that I had to get on stage that night to open up a new path.
What would you say to somebody who's creating an excuse for themselves right now to not invest in themselves, whether that's financially or with time? Like, what's the big breakthrough for most people? Like, I think it was innate in you a little bit, like, you're born that way.
I think that, if I were talking to anybody who's sick and tired of sick and tired, whatever they say, the bottom line is you got to look in the mirror and you got to be honest with yourself. The worst thing you could do is lie to you. And you've got to be honest with yourself. And the question really is that you have to ask yourself is, how much longer do I want to have this problem? And if you can't answer that question, then you're probably never going to have change. And what you're doing is you're recognizing that there's a problem and you're recognizing that it's your fault. Life happens, man. Justin, I understand life throws us curveballs. It throws me curveballs, and a curveball is just the unpredictable. It's unpredictable. You can't judge it. You can't prepare for it. It just happens. And Les Brown says, it's better to be prepared and never called than it is to be called and not prepared. And that's basically saying, man, you got to prepare yourself for life and these curveballs because life is going to happen. So somebody who's listening to me right now who says, you know what? I want that. I want a piece of that rock. Can you look in the mirror right now and ask yourself, how much longer do you want to have the problem of not living the life that you desire to live? And can you answer that question? That kind of question for me lights a fire under my ass. It pushes me. So I have learned to ask myself questions that piss me off.
I love that. So, but here's the thing, like, what do you ask yourself now, right? So you fought out of the rock bottom. When you're in the rock bottom, it's easy to say, can I get out of here? But now you've got the house, the family, the travel, I'm sure the cars, whatever. We didn't really talk about that, but
so good.
You have all that stuff. So what do you do to keep yourself motivated to level up and get to the next level?
For the last 10 years, I've really made it a huge goal of mine to empower people to have a stage and have a spotlight, helping them become published authors. If somebody's listening to me right now and they have a true desire, like a real true desire to elevate their brand. And I don't care if you're a principal of a high school. I don't care if you're a mother of a daycare. There's something inside every single person that creates an authority within themselves. I help people pull out the brand, pull out their specific thumbprint on this planet. The thumbprint that you're going to leave on this planet as a coach. That is my desire and passion to pull that out of people. So, people can go to coachjohnny.com, just like it sounds, or costarauthor.com. I'm looking for people to co-star in a book with me right now with me and Les Brown. Costarauthor.com. We're auditioning people for the next 30 days. Costarauthor.com. So the whole point is that feeds me right now. What feeds me is helping other people elevate themselves and position themselves. And to be honest with you, I'm looking for somebody who's better than me. Like, it's like a game. Like you're a badass host. You're a badass host. You ask, you ask questions that are so like and incredibly intelligent, but your ability of curiosity, I would say, Justin, you have this unique curiosity that sets you aside in a league of your own as someone who has his own podcast show. And that's something that I look at and I identify immediately. We haven't talked about this, but I've been on with you long enough just right now to see the sincerity in you. And as a leader, as somebody who helps people build their brand, those are the type of things that I look for in individuals. So short end of the question or the answer to just to wrap it up, I have challenged myself to live in the point of no return. And what I mean by that is, I remember the first time I made $1,000 in 1 week. Well, that was my new point of never returning back to less than 1,000. I remember the first time I made $2,000 in 1 week, which means I'm on track to making $100,000 my first time in life. First year, I made six figures. Well, when I made six figures, it was my point of no return. The first time I ever saw $1 million in my bank account, I knew that was my point of no return. So my new thing that I do is regardless, because everybody can participate, you can create a new point of no return on your podcast show. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have 10,000 people who download this show. Well, if it's 10,500, then that's your new point of no return.
Yeah.
If it's 11,000, 20,000, that is your new point of no return. So if you're listening to me right now, I don't care what level you're playing on, you can always create a new place of no return.
I love that too, because that's the thing where you go, okay, cool. Let's take the download numbers, right? 10,000. I hit 10,000. That's my point of no return. What do I have to do to ensure that I don't fall below that point? And it puts you in a perspective of like, okay, this is almost guaranteed leveling up. It's not even, and like, I feel like sometimes when people look at where they were, they use that as an example of like, oh, well, I guess I'm comfortable there.
And people get comfortable and they get comfortable in their own success.
Yeah.
Like people think that you can't be lazy in your success. I almost wrote a book called, The Dangers of Becoming Lazy in Your Own Success, because residual income floats my boat. Residual income takes care of my entire lifestyle. I could take off for the rest of the year and I'm still going to make $1 million this year. Well, I can become lazy in my own success. That's why I had to make it different than just me. That's when I started like, listen, I got to create a new game to play. Like Michael Jordan had to create a new game, right? Game of tennis shoes, game of athletic wear, game of owning his own company. But everything still is surrounded around that little orange ball. So he's still in the passion of what started everything. Well, I'm still in my passion of what started everything. It was being on stage, it was becoming a best-selling author, being a television personality. And now I'm helping other people do the exact same thing. I want to be the Oprah Wimbrey. I want to be the P. Diddy. I want to help, I want to be the Dr. Phil. I want to help people find themselves and elevate them and get a piece of their pie.
Yeah.
I want to be the American Idol. I want to be the X Factor, but I want to do it with people under the umbrella of personal development.
Yeah, I love that, and it's you can feel it when you talk. You can feel your passion behind that. You can feel it because of, and I think, and this is me just spitballing, but I think it's because it's created such an amazing life for you. You almost want to gift that to somebody else.
Yeah, it's an obligation. To me, it is an obligation to not just pay it forward, but to gift it into other individuals and not be intimidated by other individuals' success. Les Brown has zero intimidation factor of me, like zero. He wants me to be better. He wants me to be so good that it causes him to go to have to go back into his think tank to become better. I learned from him, so that's how I think. I want to find people who make me work hard because they're so damn good. But here's the thing, most of the greatest stories will never be heard. The greatest songs will never be sung. The greatest books will never be written because most people will take all this talent and all this gift back to their grave. What Les did for me is like, Johnny, that's a story. I was walking through my sixth grade school. It was all sixth grade in Fort Worth, Texas, called Glenn Chris sixth grade school. Les called me and said, Johnny, I'm going to be speaking in Fort Worth. I want you to come with me. I'm like, really? Where? That's where I'm from. He said, well, I'm speaking at a middle school called Glenn Chris. And I said, I went to Glenn Chris. It's an all sixth grade school. And it's in the hood. They separated us so we can become mature before we go to a real middle school and people wouldn't be beating us up. So they created an all sixth grade school.
Wow.
I'm like, no joke. So I went with him. Justin, this is one of those things where you just said, you just don't know it's a story because you lived it, right? And that's why you need mentors. That's why I mentor people. Les teaches me that you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. If you're looking in the mirror right now, if you're looking at a picture of yourself, you can't see the picture because you're in the frame. It takes a person from outside the frame that says, hey, man, listen, you got to get this stuff straight. You don't see what the world sees. I can see what the world sees. And that's what a mentor's job is. A mentor's job is to love you to your success and protect you from your failures. So here I am. I'm walking down this hallway and we're just walking, and you got to know Les. We joke a lot. Les is crazy. And he always he'll call me out of nowhere and say, what are you doing right now? I was like, what are you talking about, Les? He's like, whatever you're doing, stop it, because that's what I want to be doing. Like, we have our personalities are crazy, crazy together. So we're walking down this hallway, and we're just laughing, shooting the shit, talking crap. And we passed by this room. And I said, man, I was in special ed reading in that room for one day. And I thought the conversation was going to be over. We're laughing, right? He stops. You got to remember he's eligible mentally retarded.
Yeah.
Based on his foundation years in elementary school. And he says, tell me the story. It's like, I just did. He said, no, Johnny, tell me the story. I said, well, it was the first week of school and I'm in Miss Epstein's class, which is right over here. And I'm in the reading class and the door opens and there's this lady and she says, if I call your name, grab your stuff and come to the door. And she called my name. I'm thinking they're rebalancing the classes because they're just overpopulated. So we walk down the hallway and we go to this half classroom. And I go in, I remember seeing wood paneling on the walls and it was just a half classroom, maybe 12 desks. And then I sat down and I looked to my left and I see my homeboy that I was in 5th grade with. And I looked to my right and I see my other homeboy. I'm like, no, this ain't happening. This is special ed. So I get up respectfully and I go to the teacher and I said, man, you guys made a mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. And she says, Mr. Wimbrey, go sit down. And I said, I'm not supposed to be here. I failed the 2nd grade. I've been in honors reading, honors English ever since. I failed. I said, I'm not supposed to be here. And here's the thing, Justin, my past was trying to step into my future. And for some reason, when I say participate in your own rescue, this is where it started for me. For some reason, I looked at the teacher with all confidence and I said, give me a test. And it wasn't because I was overly confident. It was because I was embarrassed to go sit back down. So I didn't do it out of confidence. I did it out of embarrassment. I was like class clown. I was Will Smith. I was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was that kid. I was a class clown. I'm like, it's as much shit as I talk about everybody. I can't be in this class. That's what I'm thinking. She gives me a test. The next day I'm back in honors reading. And Les looks at me and he goes, wow. I'm like, what? He's like, where did you get the confidence to talk to an adult like that?
Yeah.
I wasn't rude to her. He said, I know, but you had the confidence to look her in the eye and say, I don't belong here. So most kids would have allowed somebody else's opinion to become their reality, but you didn't. And he taught me that was one of my stories.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, there's adults who are afraid to say that to adults.
Oh my goodness. Even more so. Dude, more so. The
last job I ever had, my manager, it was an extremely intimidating human being, not from a stature standpoint, but from like I'm an asshole standpoint. He fired me. And I found out later I got fired because I intimidated him, right? To other people. So obviously, as we were discussing before I hit record, I have Growth Now Movement Live coming up. One of the tickets that were purchased was by him.
Wow. Full circle.
This morning during a meeting that I was having at a coffee shop locally here, he came up to me. He walked in when I was there by chance. First time I had seen him since he fired me, however long ago that was. And he walked up to me and he goes, shook my hand. I was like, hey man, thanks for buying a ticket. And he goes, you're doing incredible things, man. Just a stellar speaker lineup, just whatever. And it was one of those moments in my life where I went, I should have never, even when I was employed by him, should have never been intimidated by that. I should have been prideful and confident in who I was.
Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't. Like I allowed him to intimidate me. So your story relates to that even as adults.
Yeah. But you know what the story that you just shared with me moves me and it empowers me because, we've always heard that, revenge is all out massive success. And that full circle is your revenge. And it's not something that you gloat about. It's not something that, you throw it in his face. I mean, you don't jump up and say, boom, in your face, motherfucker, you should have never fired me. Like,
yeah,
that's what we want to do.
I actually wanted to, when I saw the ticket order come through, I wanted to hit the refund button, but I didn't do that either.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, man, to me, that is success. And success is mastering increase. And him signing up and coming to your seminar, that's increase. Increase is not this big, gigantic jump. Increase is increase. If you ask me, Johnny, what feeds you more than anything else, what feeds me more than anything else, Justin, is increase. Every day I wake up and I think to myself, where am I going to increase today? And increase is not just finance. It's can I increase as a father? Can I increase as a husband? Can I increase as a business owner? Can I increase as, giving to something that's going to outlive me? And to me, that is increase. My wife and I, we have built 6 schools in Guatemala one of the schools increased the education from 6th grade to the 8th grade for the first time in history. Wow. That's increase for me. Yeah. That's something that's going to outlive me. That's bigger than me. That's greater than me. If you truly want a lifestyle of perpetual success, I dare you to practice perpetual increase. And increase doesn't always have to benefit you. It can benefit you inside. It can benefit your character, but it could be benefiting somebody else in the now. And I just seek increase.
Yeah, dude, I love all that, man. This has been a phenomenal conversation. And you had mentioned the word success.
Yeah.
The question that I like to ask everybody, I don't ask all the, there's 2 questions that I ask the same to everybody. This is one of them, which is, what's your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself? Because we all have different definitions.
Sure. To me, success, and I would really, really want the people to hear me very clearly on this. True success is being able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, as much as you want to do it, until you're done doing it. And you don't have to ask permission to start or finish. That's success to me. I think that freedom is success. The freedom to walk out of my studio right now and not even finish this interview. I won't do that because it's disrespectful.
Not badass. That would be if you just like took out the earphones and just walked out. Like, oh.
Then you'd show the video instead of the audio. But I mean, just the freedom to be able to pick and choose to do what you want to do without being manipulated and without manipulating other individuals. That to me is success. I don't have to lie. I don't have to cheat. I don't have to steal. I don't have to say things to make you like me. And that's freedom. People, I know people who have the definition, I'm a celebrity life coach. I work with people that you see on TV. And the truth is, the people who are watching them on TV love them more than they love themselves. That's not success to me. Your bank account.
Such a powerful, not to cut you off. That is such a powerful statement.
It's 100% true. It's, I've had the honor of working with some very notable people off the record, and I'm amazed on how these individuals are loved, but they don't love themselves. That is not success to me. There's no amount of money that can define your success. And let me flip that, because I want you to understand something. Success is a major ingredient. Money is a major ingredient for the definition of success. It is. I'm not lying on that one.
Yeah.
Money is a major ingredient to the definition of success. But it's equivalent to saying, chocolate cake. If I say chocolate cake, I'm saying sugar. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying flour. I'm saying eggs, but I'm not saying it. So when people say success, to me, I hear the word success just like I hear the word chocolate cake. There are ingredients. And if you don't have happiness, but you have money, that's not success. You can't call a chocolate cake without flour. It won't look like it. It won't feel like it. It won't taste like it. People want to taste success without the ingredients of what it really is. And those individuals will never have true happiness from the inside out.
I love that, man. So what are your rituals every day? What are 3 things you do every single day to make sure that success is happening for you, that you have chocolate cake?
Man, I don't know if you're going to like this answer, but my ritual is not to have a ritual.
I love that answer.
Yeah. I do not have a daily method of operation that anybody can predict, not even myself. And it's scary because I can't predict me. I can't predict, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I do whatever. It depends on how I feel. But there was a time, my daily ritual is I wake up and I think, what can I increase today? What can I increase? I mean, that's really it. And then I get in the position of a sniper. A sniper can't have a daily ritual. They got to adjust to the surroundings. I mean, picture a sniper in the military. It's such a sucky job because they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And most snipers never get to pull a trigger. The majority of snipers never get to pull a trigger. But if they get in the mindset of, I've been here all day and and you start having this like, I have no purpose. The worst thing you can do is get out of position because you're feeling sorry for yourself. And my daily ritual is to stay in position. I wish I had a more profound, prolific definition or answer, But my daily ritual is to stay in position of increase.
No, and I love that. And it's funny that you use the sniper reference because, like you said, most of the time they're just laying there, but they are the most important part in so many things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy. And that's kind of, I mean, that's a great way to position how it is you set yourself up for that success is super key, because I don't really have rituals either. Like, I talk to entrepreneurs, they're like, I get up at 4 a.m. and I work out. I became an entrepreneur so I didn't have to get up at 4 a.m. It's just not part of my day.
It's true. You know, I was with Eric Thomas this past weekend at one of his events, and I mean, he's just phenomenal. Like he's a freaking beast, like a freak of nature. But I'm not a 4:30 guy. Mm-mm. Like if I started waking up at 4:30 because he does, then I'm no longer being me. But it doesn't mean that I can't practice some of his habits of discipline to create a better me. Here's the problem in personal development. The problem in personal development is most people who teach personal development, they want to clone themselves through their audiences. My audiences, I want you to become the best version of yourself. It is my job to keep you in the mindset of an expectation of increase. You got to inspect what you expect. If you expect to become successful, are you inspecting it? You know, and what was my boy's name? Inspector Gadget. Yeah. Right? You know, Inspector Gadget has this big old magnifying glass, right? And his job was to inspect. Well, that's what I do with success. That's what I do with my life. I inspect what I expect. If I expect increase, I've got to hold myself to a level of accountability. I've got to be honest with myself and say, Johnny, no. You know, if I say to you right now, Justin, I want 6-pack abs. No, I don't. Because if I did want them, I'd have them. There's nothing that can stop me from getting a 6-pack ab other than energy and time. So I would be lying to myself if I tried to convince you that I want something that I don't have or I'm not working towards it. So anybody can declare what they want. Very few people will participate in the rescue.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. And you're so on point, dude. Like I said, even 20 minutes ago, this has been a phenomenal conversation. And I wrap up all these conversations with not the same, but with 5 rapid fire questions. But before we get there, how do people get a hold of you? Where's the best place to connect? All that fun stuff.
Absolutely, man. Listen, I thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate that. Just to make it simple, they can go to coachjohnny.com. Johnny is spelled just like Johnny Carson, just like Johnny Depp, JOHNNY, coachjohnny.com. All of my resources, all of my training material, especially if you want to become a professional speaker, or if you want to become a published author with me, because I co-author books with individuals to help build their brand. Myself, Les Brown, many other powerful speakers and authors. We do a book collaboration where we ride each other's coattail to push ourselves to become a bestseller. That is costarauthor.com. Co-star, because we're co-starring in the same book. costarauthor.com. I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Absolutely. So we'll get the 5 rapid fire questions. Some are fun, some are serious. I just ask you this. Answer it within one word or the most one sentence. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. The first one is, what's your favorite smell?
Eucalyptus. What is it? I love getting massages. So
yeah. So if I just said to somebody, I hate getting massages because I don't like being touched. Don't touch me.
I'm completely opposite.
I love it.
I'm very needy.
What is one trait in a friend that's non-negotiable? All friends have to have this one trait.
Honesty. I was going to say loyalty, but I will pick honesty over loyalty.
Awesome. If you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Martin Luther King.
Sure.
Yeah.
At the end of your life, if you could only be remembered for one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Sacrifice.
I love it. Obviously, this podcast is called the Growth Now Movement. So I wrap up every single episode with this one question. That is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Realizing that I'm the only entity that can hold me back.
Johnny, man, this has been phenomenal. This has been powerful. Thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your wisdom with my audience.
Honor.
And not only that, just doing what you do every day to empower people.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Again, man, this is one of the most genuine interviews I've ever done. And I'm saying that without exaggeration. And to me, you're in a league of your own, brother. You have a genuine curiosity to bring empowerment and increase to the masses. And I pray that, your show is multiplied into the millions.
Dude, thank you so much.
You got it, brother.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.